Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to the show. It is Wednesday night, 9 p.m. You already know where you're tuned into. It is the 215 Boys Live on YouTube, on Twitch, on Devereaux Sports platforms, all social medias, Instagram, you name it, we're there. You hashtag 215 Boys and you will find my ugly face popping on there, talking all about my team, the Dallas Cowboys. But listen, tonight, I know you're usually seeing myself and Matt Klein, but guys, I have a special guest here for you tonight. A good friend of mine, a true Eagles fan, and one of the hosts on Devereaux Sports himself, Joe Sullivan, host of the Sullys Squad every Monday night at 6 p.m. on Devereaux Sports. My man, Joe Sullivan, AKA the Jawn. What is going on, Joe?
Hey, Paul, how you doing, man? I'll tell you, everything's going good, man. I no complaints. I mean, other than obviously my Sixers totally shit the bed last night and getting their butt kicked. But yeah, no complaints, man. It's always fun doing shows with you, and I'm looking forward to it.
I appreciate it, man. I love doing shows with you here. We always say, we're the Cowboy fans who keep it real, no bullshit, no BS, no sugarcoat anything. And Joe, when I think of you, you're the same way with the Eagles. You're a true fan of the NFL first and foremost. You put aside the Eagles, colors, the Cowboys rivalry, and you see the NFL as a true fan, and that's why I'm glad to have you on here. What other way to talk about? I'm going to switch it up tonight and talk about Eagles and Cowboys. Let's talk about the draft that's happened, approximately 2.5 weeks ago, basically, but which we did do a live show, which I was an incredible show with us. But Joe, what do you think? Let's talk about the Cowboys first. How do you think the Cowboys did in the draft as a true Eagles fan? How do you think they matched up?
I got to be honest. The kid you guys got in the first round, the guard, he looks like he makes, as an Eagles fan, he makes me a little nervous in the fact that he looks like he could be a road grader type guy. Right. So I think he could help your running game. But he is, the one thing is Mel Kiper said he's very grabby.
Yes.
So that's, obviously as an Eagles fan, that's a little encouraging because we drafted that kid Davis in the first round, and with him, Fletcher Cox, right, Hargraves, and Milton Williams, if we could get some penetration, that could be effective. We might be able to draw some penalties. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Tyler Smith, he's a stud. He's almost 6'8", about 330. Great arms, but the arms are the problem with him. There's a lot of holding penalties. I mean, we lost Connor Williams and we lost Linnell Collins, but they were the penalty box, which I call them. And we went out and got a stud, but his only downfall is, like you said, the penalties. But I mean, it's going to be solid. If Tyron Smith can stay healthy next to him, that left side can be incredible. That's my only thing. It's not a plug and play player, but it's a need that we needed. Especially losing 2 offensive linemen.
Right, and then I'm looking. You guys took this kid Sam Williams in the second round.
Yes,
the edge from Ole Miss. I don't know too much about him. I know what is he? Is he more of like a speed rusher type guy?
Yeah, you know what I watched this, not all of his games, Joe. He was at LSU, and I watched. Ole Miss for a while, and I watched his games, and he's a true stud. He has speed. Now, I don't think anybody can compare him to what they're doing. They're comparing him to Parsons, which nobody can do that right now. I'm sorry, I don't care who you are, you can't do that. But they're saying he is the typical linebacker DN / hybrid type guy with a motor just like Parsons. So if that pans out, You can put him on the right side, not over Lawrence, and keep Parsons over Lawrence. That could be a deadly combo at the linebacker position or that defensive end position as a hybrid. I like the pick. I don't know if he's going to. They're projecting him not even starting, but I think after OTAs and rookie camp, I think he excels and he might be that plug and play player.
Well, I was going to say that the scary thing is that, from my perspective, if you guys could get a pass rush if you could get DeMarcus Lawrence being DeMarcus Lawrence of old, and you get this kid, then you could use Parsons as Parsons could be a blitzer, or Parsons can cover tight ends. You know what I mean? Cover backs out of the back. I mean, Parsons is like a jack of all trades guy. I mean, he can rush. I mean, I'll tell you, I haven't seen a rookie come in the league like Parsons in a long time. I mean, that kid's a stud, and he's going to be a nightmare for me for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, last year, when the year before, not last year, but the year prior to that, when they drafted him, I was really pissed off because the Cowboys traded with the Eagles. I was so upset. I might have broke my projector that night, throwing my TV remote at the projector. But when it all made sense to me, like, okay, Parsons is dropping here. Okay, the Eagles don't want Parsons; they want Devontae Smith, and it fell to us. And I'm like, maybe might be my dad, who was a Cowboys fan, rest in peace. He's up there saying, "We're dropping him to your lap," which made me so happy. And what he equated to was insane. I've never seen a rookie finish second in Defensive Player of the Year like he did last year. Insane.
Yeah, and then what about you? I mean, what do you think of these other guys? I mean, because I'll be honest, I follow the draft religiously, but I really Jalen Tolbert's a guy I really don't know much about.
I like him. I really like him. He's a high flyer. I mean, he's a speed possession receiver. Truth be told, I think he might start over James Washington in that slot.
Okay.
And what the thing is I'm scared of right now is Gallup. We don't know about Joe. He still has that injury, from last year of that leg. And the Achilles, I think he might be out for like 4 to 5 games at the beginning of the season. I think James Washington goes to the slot. CeeDee Lamb goes 1. And maybe Tolbert steps up because he's 6'3", he's a speedster. And I think he takes that opposite side with Washington in the middle with Schultz playing tight end. But I overall think he's going to be a great player. I think he is going to start over Washington, though, with what I've seen.
Yeah, I mean, the one encouraging thing to me is you guys didn't get a corner early because I'm looking for because obviously we'll get into the Eagles draft because you look at the Eagles draft. I mean, you can't talk about the draft without talking about the AJ Brown trade.
Exactly.
And from my perspective, I mean, I'm getting extremely excited thinking about Anthony Toast Brown possibly trying to cover AJ Brown.
You had to go there, Joe. You had to go there. Yeah, you know what? Exactly, Joe. That's why I like having you on the show because you see it as my perspective and yours, and we talk about it, and you make me think like what I thought about being a real fan. I agree with what you just said. To me, I was kind of pissed off. I love our first 3 picks, but we didn't address the corner. The reason being Anthony Toast Brown, that's what I call him on my page and everything. He's Anthony Toast Brown, just like you called him. But what makes me mad is I don't believe in him. And the other corner that we drafted last year, Fat Man Boss, we all know him as Kelvin Joseph. We don't even know if he's going to jail, Joe. We don't even know that right now. And you're still valuing this guy as a second-round player last year out of Kentucky, which I think was overrated. And you didn't address the issue, knowing that damn well the Eagles got A.J. Brown. Okay, they're set. Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown. You have Gainwell as a slot receiver playing on the backfield. You have Quez Watkins who can blow the roof off you anytime you want. You didn't compensate for this. That to me, like, I get shit from the Cowboys fans all the time saying you're crazy. You're not a Cowboys fan. No, dude, I see the real shit here going on because hey, you guys have a hybrid offense. It reminds me of like maybe you call it Big 12 offense where other teams don't play defense, but you can score 50 and we can't catch you. That's what I see in the Eagles right now. To me, it's a hybrid, insane, fast-paced offense if they want to, with a running quarterback that can blow your mind anytime.
Yeah, well, and also since we're talking about corners, well, that's my area of concern too, because right now, I mean, the Eagles have Darius Slay and then they have Maddox in the slot,
right?
And both of them are excellent. But who the hell's going to play the other corner? I mean, right now it's a battle between like Zach McPherson and Tay Gallon,
right?
And I'm not in love with that. Now I see the Giants just cut the kid Bradbury.
Yeah.
I would love to go after him, but I mean, there's probably a big market for him. And
Yeah.
I was listening to our sports talk the other day, and basically they were saying that the Eagles probably aren't going to go for Bradbury. It's more likely the Eagles have these young guys compete, and they may bring in a Xavier Rhodes for a year.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. And I thought the Eagles were tied to Xavier Rhodes down the road, but I was
Hmm.
even looking at it today on a couple podcasts out there for Dallas, and they said Bradbury might be tied to the Cowboys. I mean,
Oh,
anything is better for me right now than Anthony Brown. I mean,
well, that scares me because
yeah,
Bradbury's probably, I would say he's probably a top. What would you say? Maybe 11 to 12 corner in the
yeah, I
league.
was
I
gonna
mean, he's
say
definitely
definitely
upper
top. Yeah,
echelon.
I was gonna say definitely top 15. I wouldn't put him in that top 10 category yet, but definitely for especially for our need, I'll put him in top 10 for our needs right now because that's the best available. It's a lot
Mhm.
better than what we have, but I would say top 15 for Anthony Bradbury right now, Jamie Bradbury, definitely.
Yeah. So what did you think? I mean, from your perspective, like what did you think of the Eagles draft? Because I mean, for me, I
Oh,
objectively I give you guys. I honestly, we talked about the draft grades on the draft night. I give you guys like
mhm.
a B plus.
Yeah,
Um, the Eagles, honestly, I mean, I love the D tackle because I think Gannon's going to play a little bit more hybrid, like 34 type
mhm.
looks, and he's a perfect like nose tackle type guy.
Right, right.
Um, the center I actually really like. The center, when you watch him run down the field, he looks like a young Kelsey.
Yeah, he does. I mean, I honestly, Joe, like I keep it real here. Your draft, I wish I had, honestly. I mean, Jordan Davis is just a true old school nose tackle where he plugs the middle. He might not be the fastest dude out there, but his arm length, his strength, you're not going to run up the middle anymore because I feel sorry for our center, Tyler Baez. He's going to get his ass kicked against Jordan Davis. Maybe the only downfall with Jordan Davis, does he have that motor to be a three down player? That's the only
Mm-hmm.
thing that I can worry about with him. But your center, I believe it what Cam Jurgens or something like that, wasn't it? Cam
Yeah.
Jurgens. He's a plug and play guy, and you know what? If you don't start this year, guess what? You already found Kelsey's replacement for next year. That's looking to the future. That's something we didn't do. And let's talk about Nakobe Dean.
Oh,
This
that's my favorite pick.
man, the steal of the draft, Joe. It could be the steal of the draft, just like Parsons landed in our lap 2 years ago. You
Yeah.
guys got a stud top. I would say in the beginning of the draft, top 10 player, top five, possibly on many boards, going to you in that late of a round, Joe. That if he's, I don't believe all the injuries. I know he has the what is this, the pectoral muscle, whatever it is. The leg problem. But Joe, if all these people are saying that he doesn't need surgery, then don't do it. You can still perform. You played, 12 games last year and you outdid yourself. So steal of the draft, man. I got to give you guys, and I'm not even going to talk about that guy, AJ Brown. I don't even need to throw that in there, Joe, because
Uh,
that just gives you back in the old days A plus plus on your report card. Definitely.
well, yeah, and the thing about Nakobe Dean too, you know, you mean they took him in the third round. So just
Right.
say hypothetically, Nakobe
Mm-hmm.
Dean gets hurt this year, and then he needs
Right.
surgery. He still was worth the risk because you got him in the third round. So even if he
Exactly.
misses half the games this year, you got a
Exactly.
first round talent in the third round.
I mean, just like you said, you pick him in the third round. That's a bag of peanuts in this year's draft. I mean, the top talent, you got him in the third round. You got him for a bag of peanuts. You know what? Let him sit a year. Let him learn the game. If he's hurt, whatever, redshirt him. That's fine. You got the steal of the draft this year. I honestly give you an A plus.
Yeah,
Definitely do.
I'm also intrigued by the tight end that they got. His name was like Kale Clutterbuck or something. I
Yeah,
forget.
yes, he's actually a great player. I mean, I think he learns under Dallas Goddard for a while, and I think he could
Mhm.
be. I don't know how his blocking is though, because I know the Eagles like to run, the sweeps outside, the little, not the ISOs, but little like lead plays. I'm not sure what his blocking is like though. I haven't really looked
Mhm.
into it, but as a pass receiver, he's there. He's a good solid guy, and that's a good pickup as well.
Yeah, because the problem with him was the concussion issue, and that's why
Right.
he had to stop because
Hmm.
he had concussions, but he actually played with Jalen Hurts in Oklahoma.
Right.
Um,
Right. Hmm.
and if he didn't stop playing football and he kept playing, he probably would have been a higher pick. So
Exactly.
because he does have some athletic ability, and this kid Kyron Johnson, he's kind of like a lottery ticket kind of guy. I mean, he's not really big, but he's extremely fast. I think they're projecting to be like a special teams type ace,
Yeah. Yeah.
but he also can rush the passer, and it kind
Hmm.
of brings into what I've been reading about Jonathan Gannon, where basically the Eagles aren't going to run a base 4-3 anymore. They're going to have rotating looks. They're going to do 3-4s. They're going to do,
Right.
he's going to, we'll learn, Eagles fans will learn a lot more about Jonathan Gannon this year than they did last year. Because last year he was extremely vanilla.
Yeah, and that's the one thing as a Cowboys fan, like I coach offense in my little league teams up here, and it's just, as an offensive guy, you look at that as one of the fears of the Eagles. You know what they're going to look like on offense. Of course, we see that, how they built it. But the defense, just like you said, it's going to be multiple looks. And if you don't have that smart quarterback, I'm not saying Dak is the best. I'm not saying he's the worst. But there's a lot of quarterbacks out there. If you throw him a vanilla defense, he'll tear you apart. But if you show him multiple looks, it could be a bad day for him. It's like Sam Darnold said he's seen ghosts, in that one game. Dak can see the ghost if he plays the Eagles with these multiple looks. You're in 3-4. Then you go to a wide 9. Who the hell knows? You don't know what they're going to do. And that's a scary thing out there, especially with the Eagles are building speed. Strong up front with speed, and their linebackers are hybrid. That's what scares me as well. The only thing is the secondary, like you said, who's going to play opposite of Slay.
Yeah, and the Eagles are a little weak in the safety position too. I mean,
Right.
I was really hoping we would get the Honey Badger.
I was
going to say Baltimore has the guy. I think his name's Chuck Clark. He's actually a Philadelphia native, and Baltimore signed Marcus Williams, and they drafted Kyle Hamilton. So, I mean, if I could get Chuck Clark for maybe a 5th round pick or something, if I'm the Eagles, I would consider doing that.
Yeah, that's a great deal as well. I don't think they can keep both of them. Just like you said, we're Notre Dame fans, Joan. We love, talking Kyle Hamilton. I call him the phenom safety, and I'm surprised he went that low as well. But you can't keep Clark unless you switch him over to a strong safety or a free safety. But I mean, you can pick your poison with that. If they do keep Clark, that would be a hell of a secondary, with both of them, because we know Hamilton can play both positions, and even linebacker if he has to. He's big enough, he's strong enough, and he's fast enough.
You know how today's NFL is. I mean, it's always been about speed, but it's really about speed now. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
I mean, you can see teams play 3 safeties.
Yeah.
Many times. Look at the Commanders. I know they cut him now, but they had Landon Collins kind of playing a linebacker position.
Yeah, exactly. They did. But let me add this, though. After we talked about the draft, who do you think the top team in the NFC East is? I mean, my thing might surprise you a little bit. I don't even know. But who do you think is? You think it's? I mean, I'm not going to talk about Washington. The Giants are still many years away. But between the Eagles and Cowboys, where do you think that stands right now, Joe?
All right. Honestly, as much as it pains me to say, I still until I see Jalen Hurts take that next step, which I honestly think he can do this year because he's got all the steps, I still got to give it to the Cowboys, unfortunately. But I think the gap is closed a lot more. I think the gap is closed. Like last year, when we played you guys, what was it, week 3? I mean, it wasn't even close. It was like varsity versus JV. You know what I mean? The last game of the year I don't count because we didn't play any starters, but I still think you guys would have won. This year, with us getting AJ Brown and with us improving the defensive line with the depth, with getting Hassan Reddick and also drafting Davis, I feel like, put it this way, I feel like if you guys win the division, like you guys will win 11 and we'll be either tied with you and lose on a tiebreaker, or we'll be right there with 10. You know what I mean? I think it's going to be right there.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I mean, we spoke before the show, and thinking about it, I want to say the Cowboys are the better, superior team, but as a true fan, I know what's on paper is what I know on the field. We're the better team on paper, but on the field, it doesn't really replicate to that all the time. To me, I think the Eagles are built for the future right now, and they've closed the gap, Joe. And I think it's going to be 11-10 is going to win the division between both of us, if not going to a tiebreaker. So that 1-1 split right there is going to mean a lot to this division, because I don't see it, being more than a 2-game gap. I can't see that happening. It's just between the two. And the one thing I can say, Joe, if we win the division this year, we win the division, but next year I'm scared as hell because of the fact that you guys are set in position, just like you talked to me earlier. The Eagles offense is under 24 years old, basically, except Kelsey, and and it's a scary thought that you guys are built for the future, especially having 2 picks next year. Hey, you know what? Hurts doesn't work out. You know what? Hey, look who you got sitting in the back in the clipboard, Carson Strong. why not? You know, and if you don't like it, you can go out and get other pieces. You guys are set for the future. So I wish I was in your shoes, but I'm going to lean toward the Cowboys because it's perspective of saying you have to knock off a top guy of the pedestal first. So I give them that little lean, but it's a neck and neck division. It definitely
Well,
is.
well, I was gonna say, and the other thing we have is no team has repeated in the NFC East since
Right,
the Eagles did
right,
in 03 and 04. So that was the last.
exactly.
That was literally the last. I want to say that's the longest streak in the NFL for a division.
It
If
actually
it's
might
not,
be.
it's got to be close.
Yeah, it's that's a true statement. I mean, you never know. You're the best team on paper, but it's the NFC East. A lot, we used to be the NFC beast of the East. In the last couple of years, it's the least of the East. But it's always been a close division, no matter what it is. I mean, this division is to me is the only division that you can throw out a 16-0 versus a 0-16, and you might get your ass smacked in the last week in this division. You never
Yeah,
know.
yeah. Well, look at the year. I think the year you got one win. I think the Redskins at the time won
Yeah,
like 10, 11 games, and you guys beat the Redskins in Washington.
exactly. That's this division is just the way it is. I mean, it's a tough division. I don't want my record. You don't want to say that, but as a perspective of teams, rivalries, it is that kind of division. It's very hard to speculate who's going to come out on top. But I think if like you said, it's a two-team race this year. I'm not going to debate that. That is definitely going to happen.
You know what?
But
I got a question for you.
mhm,
Actually, do you think this is Zeke's last year for you guys?
Joe, I'm glad you brought that up. A lot of people tell me I'm crazy. I must be on drugs or drunk or something. But to me, when you're paying $15 million for a back that barely plays anymore, that doesn't hit the hole anymore, coming out of Ohio State like he did, and you have a guy out there that's hungry as hell in Tony Pollard, who's not afraid to run up the gut, get outside, catch balls, do anything he can, punt return, kick returns, whatever this man can do to better your team, he does it. And this year, there's only one thing I can say. If Zeke doesn't have an audition year, his ass is out of here. It's very simple. You pay Pollard, you release him. I don't. I don't want the thing to be an Amari Cooper deal where you get a third, fifth round pick for him. I want something knowledgeable, something good. I don't want to give him away for a bag of peanuts. I do not want
Hmm.
to do that. But yeah, I agree. This has to be his last year. If he doesn't produce, he has to give me at least 1,100, 1,200 yards this year, as a starting back. He has to.
Yeah, you know, it's funny because the last couple years of Zeke Elliott, his career reminds me of shoot, I'm for the tight Eddie George.
Eddie
A
George,
little
yeah,
bit
yeah.
Eddie George. All right, remember
Mhm.
Eddie George had like 5 or 6 like unbelievable years.
Right,
And then
right.
I think his last year or two for Tennessee, I want to say like 03, 04. Then he went to the Cowboys and
Right,
he clearly lost like a step or two. He still was effective because I mean I still think Zeke's effective, but
right,
he's
right.
but Zeke is definitely not the guy that you guys drafted. And if you're paying him 15 million a year,
Exactly,
you're paying for past performance. He's not doing that.
exactly. And I agree with that. A lot of people bring up to me, all the carries he had, over 300 carries in his, years. Maybe we bled him, we bled the horse too much. But to me, when you're getting paid $15 million, man, hey, it's time to perform, Joe. I mean, I don't care what you're paid, but this is the NFL, man. Next man up, and we have a Pollard behind us. You know what? Next man up, audition this year, or your ass is out of here. It's very simple. I can't deal with you. But Pollard makes 1.6 million versus Zeke's 15.4. It's insane, Joe. There's no way. You got to let him go. Got to.
You know what I think's going to happen? It's kind of ironic because remember 2014. I know you do since you're a Cowboys fan, but
Mhm.
I bet you DeMarco Murray
Mm.
as Zeke Elliott.
you
They're
know,
going to
Josh.
DeMarco Murray Ezekiel Elliott, dude.
you
You
know,
know what I'm saying? Zeke's going to get a lot of carries this year, then they're going to get rid of him. And I just hope the Eagles don't pull the Chip Kelly and bring Zeke in and then try to run him with the outside zones like Chip Kelly did.
That's the funny thing. I remember that exclusively, Joe, because I remember the one game we played, when DeMarco Murray was there. All the Eagles fans were hyped, and I remember putting it on Facebook before, and I was like, damn, it's kind of bad when you guys get the leading rusher prior in the NFL last year, and Tony Romo outruns DeMarco Murray in yardage for the game. And I
Uh
was
huh.
like, this is insane. Like, if Zeke's like that, but you know what? It'll throw up in my face because if Zeke goes to you guys, he'll be the all pro back. Nothing can stop the guy. He'll go back to Ohio State, feed me every game, and he'll blow up the Cowboys. But I think he's gone next year, Joe. I definitely do. He has to.
Yeah, I think if I were you, as great as a player as he's been, and I would probably want that. And you know what? The Eagles have never had success with former Cowboys. I mean, I can remember. I remember we brought in. Remember the kicker Chris Bonial?
Yes.
All right, he came to Philly. He sucked.
Yeah.
And then there was a linebacker. I'm drawing a blank on. We brought in a linebacker from you guys.
What was his name?
It wasn't Robert Jones, but it was like,
No.
yeah, I'm drawing. I don't know. I'm drawing a blank, but I know. And then of course, DeMarco Murray, which I still say, if Chip Kelly used DeMarco Murray right, he would have been effective. But his problem was that he tried using him like LaShawn McCoy, and DeMarco Murray was north.
Exactly. DeMarco Murray was a north-south runner, and you used him as east and west, Chip Kelly Pac-12 offense, and that did not work at all, Joe, let me ask you this. Going to, for both teams, what X factor, one person do you think that's going to have the biggest impact? I'll start with you first. Who do you think the Eagles have the biggest impact? One player.
I mean, it's probably the most obvious choice. It's got to be the quarterback, Jalen Hurts, because you look at the Eagles have arguably the best offensive line in football, if not top three. Right. They have the best running game in football. Now they signed all-pro receiver to go along with Devontae Smith and a top 5 tight end. It's got to be Jalen Hurts. I mean, if you look at the Eagles' weapons, there's no reason why the Philadelphia Eagles won't average close to 30 points a game.
I agree with that 100%. I mean, everybody, is transposed to Jalen Hurts being the guy that can't take you to the promised land, but now's your year. You went out, you supplied everything that you can to get this guy to the promised land. The keys are in your hand. It's time to drive the car. I agree with that 100%. To me, it's the person we just talked about. It's Zeke Elliott. To me, I mean, he has to be the catalyst of this team. You right now, the O-line is banged up. We used to be top 2, top 3 in the game every year. But to me, we might be, near the ending 10 in the lineup for me, maybe top 10. But I'll say maybe like 6 or 7 right now with the banged up line. But to me, Zeke has to be the X factor. If he has a great game, which opens up the play action, because Dak can scramble. We have Gallup. We have, the new guy. We have Dalton Schultz. We have James Washington. And, of course, CeeDee Lamb. You have to have the running game first. And I think that's what killed us last year. There was really no running game because we started Zeke, and we let Zeke come in, and we let Zeke play. And I didn't agree with that fact. So I think, to me, it's going to be definitely Zeke Elliott on our outside.
Okay, definitely. And then, I was going to say, and then from my perspective to you guys, like, what, I feel like if your left tackle, if your left tackle goes down, you know what I mean? Tyron's like he's a big part of your team too, because he goes down, and especially with the Eagles getting the Eagles D line, that could on Eagles could bring a lot of pressure on Dak,
Yes, I agree with 100%. I mean, just like I call Tyron Smith the Jason Peters of the Eagles. He'll give you half a season basically, and that's really what it comes down to. And a lot of I call him too Sean Lee 2.0 on offense. He's always injured. He could be all decade, all world, but he's injury prone. And if he gives you 11 games, you're satisfied. But if he goes down, my God, the Eagles defense is just so hybrid on the defensive end, and even linebacker. It could be a long day for Dak in the backfield. Definitely will be.
Yeah, and you like, all right. So if we look at this realistically, if both teams are relatively even, I think we're looking at a split probably. And what's weird to me is really the Eagles Cowboys rivalry. Believe it or not, home field hasn't always meant as much as you would think.
Exactly.
Because
it really doesn't.
I can remember so many years where you guys came here and beat us, and we went down. Like for instance, 2014. Because I thought of it because we were thinking of Chip Kelly. But we went down and boat raced you guys on Thanksgiving, and then towards the end of the year, you came here and beat us.
Exactly. And that tells you a lot. Going to someone. Dallas always plays on Thanksgiving just like the Lions do, and that to me is a tradition game. And you came into our house, and excuse me. It wasn't a beatdown. It was an ass beating, and it was just an embarrassing moment. And, you're depleted right there. Then you come back, 3 or 4 weeks later in Philadelphia and run away with the game. Just like you said, division home field and between the Eagles and Cowboys don't mean anything to me. You know, this year I definitely think it's going to be a split. I don't think it's going to be a sweep, like a lot of people say. But that if you do sweep, that does go a long way for this tiebreaker, Joe. And I think that's what it comes down at the end of the season.
Well, I think it's gonna. Yeah, I mean, so if we do split, it's gonna come down to who winds up slipping up versus the Giants, who winds up slipping
Right.
up versus Washington, and then you look at common opponents. You know what I mean? Like, Speaking of that, you mentioned Thanksgiving. I saw you guys have it kind of leaked. I think you have since your host. Supposedly, you're hosting Cincinnati on Thanksgiving. That's gonna be a hell of a game.
Yeah, that's a true game right there. Joey Burrows, oh my God, that dude, I can see him lighting it up if we don't get it together, especially in this year, what he did last year. I mean, that dude secured a spot in the top five to me, even though he's basically a rookie still. He solidified the position to me, I mean, what he did. But let me ask you, Joe, what is your favorite Eagles Cowboy rivalry moment? What is your
Oh man.
best memory? I have so many of them, but
I have you know what? I have so many of them, but you know what? I'll narrow it down. I'll narrow it down to two, but one in particular. So obviously, to me, the most exciting fight was 4th and 1. They stopped them again.
yeah,
Okay, but my favorite moment though was 2008 because I remember the Eagles needed like at the last game of the year 2008. The Eagles needed a miracle to make the playoffs. We needed the Raiders to beat Tampa Bay, and we needed Houston to beat the Bears. And we got all the help we needed. So then
yes.
we played you guys, and it basically was a playoff game. And it was at the link.
Yeah, and that was a
And
demolishing game. It was a blowout, Joe.
yeah, and you guys had T.O., obviously it was T.O.'s third year with you guys, and it was a playoff game. And I remember being nervous because we got all the help we needed. And I was like, we got all this help. Now, please don't lose. And the Eagles wound up winning 44-6. And it was just like a rocking chair ride. You know what I mean?
You know what? I remember that game 100%, Joe, because I'm thinking, like, you know what? Okay, there's no way the Eagles are getting in this damn playoff because they need so much damn help. All these Cinderella teams, the David versus Goliath, the Goliath has to lose. And at the end of the day, they lost. And I'm thinking, like, holy shit, all they got to do is beat us to get in. Okay, who has the momentum now? Is it us defending or is it them that want the prize? And to me, I knew that was a game. Like, I think I just went outside and said, screw this, I'm done. And I think that was after the first half. I was like, there's no way we're winning this, we're done. I hate you bringing that up because that brings back a bad memory to me. But to me, Joe, this moment to me, I don't think it's in a lot of people's head, but the one game that Jason Witten lost his helmet and ran down the field without his helmet, basically for about 45 yards. That to me right there solidified.
I remember that.
Solidified because I still have the frame picture behind me. To me, it's one of my favorite players, Jason Witten. Seeing him, his heart, it defined what being a Dallas Cowboy meant to me. Where a player, an unsung hero in basically his first, less than not back into his career early, did that to you. To me, that was one of my defining moments where I seen a player like bust his jaw basically wide open and still run, almost 30 yards. And to me, that was one of the best moments I've ever seen in my history.
I remember that game. That was a Sunday 7. You guys, you guys came here and took it to us. That was the year you guys were first, and I think that was the Tony Romo, Jessica Simpson, right? Tony Romo got his balls broken because he went to Cabo or something.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, but you guys had a hell of a team that year. I mean, that was a cool team.
Mike Laura said I was at that game. Dallas kicked our ass. Well, hey, I'm glad we can say Dallas kicked the Eagles' ass one time, But between this rivalry, man, this was like, Mike Laura, he's one of the hosts of the Cobbler Rink. You can find him on Devereaux Sports every Sunday morning at 9 a.m. with Pat Bernard himself. But yeah, I mean, he's a true fan too, and he speaks it real. He keeps everything real with us. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of moments, Joe. You can look back on this Dallas Eagle rivalry, and there's just so many moments you can bring up.
Oh, there's so many. I mean, it's one of the best. It's one of the best rivalries in pro sports. I mean, you could even, I mean, I was too little, obviously, but my uncle. I mean, you could go back to like 1980. I remember this. Here's one moment that's a terrible memory for me. But I remember 1997. We played you guys on a Monday night, and I remember I broke part of my table because the Eagles had a chip shot field goal and Tommy Hutton fumbled this. And you know what I mean?
Yes.
And then
Yeah.
I was so mad because the Eagles should have won the game, and Jerry Jones is like running up and down the sidelines laughing and celebrating, and I'm like, MFer, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But see that I feel like that's what's great about sports though, because like so at the end of the day, you know what I mean? It's like Eagles, Cowboys, like Eagles and Eagles fans, Cowboys fans, they clash, blah blah blah. But at the end of the
Hmm.
day, it's still America. You know what I mean? And
Right.
to me, I feel like some people take things too far. Like I would rather have some good natured ribbing and ball breaking. But it's
Hmm.
at the end of the day that neither of these teams pay our bills. You know what I'm saying? It's
Exactly.
come
Exactly.
on.
I don't know if I ever told you, Joe, the story when I used to live in Mayfair near Chicky and Pete's down there. And of course, it's all Eagles are down there. And I'm 4 doors down from Chicky and Pete's. Um, the one year I was sitting outside after the game, the Eagles were playing Dallas, and after we won, I didn't gloat anything. I don't even wear my jersey outside because I know right from wrong. Going to Chicky and Pete's, I ain't that big. I ain't that strong. And I was sitting out front with just a regular shirt on. And this guy comes out and throws a brick right through my window. And
Oh my
my
God.
SUV had 5-time Super Bowl champ on it. And he's looking at it. He's like, look at this son of a bitch's truck. Look at this son of a bitch's truck. And I'm like, he ain't really going to do it, is he? Well, Joe, he threw a brick right through my back window. And then he went
Wow.
inside, got a knife, and slashed all 4 of my tires. Like, I'm like, dude, did that Eagles loss? Like, what, you're not going to get a ring this year? Like, what is it? You personally are going to get a ring? Like, what is it, dude? Like, I love my team, but, dude, I love the camaraderie between two fans that are real.
Hmm.
I even hate my own fan base because some of those dudes are the most idiotic people I've ever met in my life. But I love keeping it real, just as you do with the Eagles, and that's why I'm glad to have you on here, Joe. Definitely are. Because we both keep it real. We're fans first of the whole entire game. A lot of people just like they say Tom Brady sucks. Well, Tom Brady to me is the GOAT. I'm blessed to
I
see this guy
agree.
play. I'm blessed to see the guy play in my time. You know, definitely.
Yeah, I
But
agree.
yeah,
And we both say that as Notre Dame fans because I
right.
mean, growing up, I always had a great deal of pride saying Montana was the GOAT because he went to Notre
Uh-huh.
Dame.
Right,
But
right. Uh-huh.
realistically, I mean, I look at and Michigan's one of our biggest rivalries, and that's where Brady went. But I mean,
Exactly.
yeah, I'm sorry, I got to give credit where credit's due. The guy's got 7 Super Bowl rings. You know what I mean?
Exactly. That's the way we look at it. I mean, just like I tell a lot of people, like, man, we get into it a lot, Joe. In our groups and everything like that. He sucks. He doesn't even deserve to be on the pedestal. Well, to me, like, I'm blessed enough to see this guy actually play. Like, I've witnessed this guy play. I can talk to people and say, man, let me tell you, 20 years down the line, oh, this guy might be great. Let me tell you about Tom Brady. Let me tell you about this guy. That's something that these cats, the new generation won't understand because maybe they see a fandom as a one team or they believe in one thing, but it's being a true fan of the game first. But Joe, I know we're going to get out of here a little bit, but is there anything? Where can they find you at, Joe? Well, what's going on with Joe Sullivan? What's going on with Joe right now? Where can they find my man at?
I'm on every Monday night, usually 6 o'clock. Sometimes we go 6:30, but usually
Okay.
6 o'clock. The Sullys Squad, me, myself, Diego Bianchi,
Mhm.
Will Franklin. A lot of times we have my man Sean Kilrain. We call him like the stat guy because Sean all kinds of stats, and a lot of times you
Yes.
gotta. I love my man, but sometimes you got to pull it out of milk and cookies when you're reading his stats. But he's very informative. He's great. But he's not on. He's been off a little bit because he's got some family stuff with his kids
Okay.
in softball. And then Paul on sometimes,
Hmm.
and we're on every Monday night. And my uncle and I were just talking because I also do an old school show,
Okay.
and it's actually yeah. And we haven't really he's been busy because he's been taking a class, but we're about to get back into the old school probably within the
Great.
next month.
That's good.
And it's funny because we touched on the Eagles Dallas rivalry on this show, and on Devereaux Sports Facebook page, check it out. We actually did a Philly Dallas rivalry on the old school, and we
Okay.
went in and we broke down the rivalry, and we did that with Dallas, we did that with Eagles Washington, we did that with Eagles Giants, we've done Buddy
Hmm.
Ryan Eagles. So everybody, you're a fan of like old school sports, Philly in particular, because we did Wilt Chamberlain, Allen Iverson, you name it. We have all kinds of different. And your Villanova hat. In March, we did the Villanova Wildcats.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember that episode.
Their 3 championship runs. So the old school is going to be making a comeback. So make sure if you're a fan of the old school and you want to relive the old days, take the DeLorean back in time and check out the old school, because we'll be back. So I'll be check out the Sullys Squad on well, actually, you know what? I'm saying that for old school, I got to make my own page. But if you check out the Sullys Squad on YouTube, I'll put a old school page I'm going to make.
Yeah, definitely, man. Like I tuned into that Villanova show. I'm a grad there, so I love that show. It took me down memory lane, man. I enjoy watching you guys talk because the stats are incredible and the knowledge is incredible between you four. You three. I'm sorry, but it's insane. But listen,
no, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. I think it's funny because, like you take yourself back in time, like, you talk about sports, right? And sports is about experiences. It's about family. It's about knowing where you were in a certain time. Like, I can remember like exactly like Joe Carter, when Joe Carter hit that home run, it was a horrible memory. Well, I remember sitting with my grandfather and both of us looking at each other and saying, well, it's been a good year. Like as soon as they put Mitch Williams in, we're like, well, I think we're screwed, and for good memories, like when Jimmy Rollins hit that against the Dodgers, like I remember being over my buddy Johnny Tietz's house, and we went outside banging pots and pans. You know what I mean?
Exactly, right. I mean, there's good memories and bad memories. To me, it's like, my dad. A lot of people know this about me, but my dad was in the military, and we lived in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. And my dad was 7 years old. My dad said, "We're going to Disney World." Well, he had other implications. He wanted to go to Oxnard, California, to their training camp in '77. Me being a 6-year-old, 7-year-old kid, I don't remember who the hell he's talking to, but the first person he met was Roger Staubach. So I'm thinking, like, who is this guy? Then he said, "Where are you going?" I was like, I remember saying, like, Disney World, that's where I want to go. And he's like, well, if your dad takes you, they got to be a Cowboy lifelong fan. And to me, that's something that I did for my dad, always remaining a Cowboy fan. But my thing was always going to the Dallas Thanksgiving Day game. And when my dad passed away 6 years ago, Joe, I went for the first year after he passed away. I bought 2 seats, Joe. One was empty next to me. And that game we did win. And I remember in the first quarter, we scored right on the opening drive, a touchdown. And I turned to the side and I went to high five my dad, and he wasn't there. And that's the last time I've ever been to a Cowboys Thanksgiving Day game. Because to me, I couldn't do it anymore. That was one of the greatest things in my memory as being a Cowboys fan, is my dad who got me involved. But it goes a long way with saying that, how you became a fan and you're still true. Like, I hate people saying I'm a bandwagon fan. Well, bro, it's been 26 years. I would like to take that, just like you said earlier, I would like to take that ride in that DeLorean and go back to 1990s. I would love to do that. But I still rock my colors. As you can see, me, Joe. I'm real about it. And just like you guys are, I respect you as a fan. I respect your fan base. I respect people that know the game and don't take it to a 700 level, as what I call it. But yeah, before we get out of here, Joe, let me just mention some of the shows on Devereaux Sports here real quick. You can check out all of our shows on Devereaux Sports on YouTube, Twitch, and with all our shows beginning Sunday morning at 9 a.m. with the Gobbler Inc., including Pat Bernard and one of our guys checking it earlier, Mike Lauro. And of course, my man sitting on the screen here, Joe Sullivan. You can check him out every Monday at 6 p.m. the Sullys Squad with Joe Sullivan, AKA the Jawn. Tuesdays at 10:15. For all you fight fans out there, we have a fighting show, Fight Club 215, with Joey the Hitman Wood, and of course myself, Paul the Joker Spencer. And of course, you are checking into the show tonight, Wednesday at 9 p.m. Then 215 Boys with myself and special guest tonight, Joe Sullivan, stepping in for Matt Klein. And you can always find us on our Devereaux Sports page, YouTube, Twitch, and of course all of our social media accounts. And just like I said, Joe has his own social media accounts for Sullys Squad. Joe, it's called the old school, correct? Is that what you guys call it?
Yeah, we actually call it the Philly Sports, the old school. But I have to, we haven't done it in a while. But as soon as I get back on it, I'm going to make our own YouTube page.
Sounds good, everybody. Yeah, just check that out. I mean, if you can't find it, go to Devereaux Sports. All of our listings are on there. We try to keep you informed of anything going on, show times, any kind of involvement. Because you never know. Me and Joe might have a pop-up show talking. Who knows? We might just talk about anything out there. We don't even know yet. So stay tuned with Devereaux Sports. You never know. As for myself, my name is Paul Spencer from the 215 Boys, and I'm with my special guest, Go ahead,
Oh,
John.
I'm sorry. Joe Sullivan, AKA the Jawn from the Sullys Squad.
All right, boys. For myself, thank you for tuning in, and you will see us next week, every Wednesday at 9 p.m.